let me ask you this. Are there different species of wolves, like in different parts of the countries? Have we found different species of wolves?
So for most of North America, the wolf species is just Canis lupus, or what we consider the timber wolf or the gray wolf. There is a subspecies in New Mexico and Arizona, the Mexican wolf. That's a subspecies, not its own species. Down in the Carolinas, there's the red wolf, which is its own species. And then there's there's many scientists who think that there's a distinct species of wolf in and around Algonquin Provincial Park in Ontario called the eastern wolf. And, there's some people don't all agree, or some scientists don't all agree with that, but there's been quite a bit of work to show that they're genetically different. But most of the time, people are just talking about gray wolves. And there's regional variation in the size and the appearance of them, but they're all the same species for the most part.
Okay. And the gray wolf is what we talk about being, what our domesticated dogs were descendant from, ancestors of the gray wolf. So that's what we're talking about, is the gray wolf at this point. So let's kind of talk a little bit about what the gray wolf does eat. What is their main diet?
Sure. So most gray wolves, unless you're in a very unique ecosystem, are going to rely primarily on ungulates, which are hoofed animals. So they're going to eat deer, moose, elk, caribou, things like that. And so that's going to be the primary year-round prey of wolves. During the winter time, or by winter I mean places where there's snow and things like that, wolves are going to almost exclusively eat those kind of prey. During the summertime, though, wolf diets can be a lot more flexible and change quite a bit, as there's a variety of different food sources that can be available to them. Wolves are opportunists, or referred to as generalists or opportunists, that are good at taking advantage of a variety of different food sources. Most of what wolves eat is going to be meat-based, but there are instances where they will eat non-meat foods, such as fruits and berries and human garbage and things like that. So they're pretty good at finding food wherever they can.
So wolves are classified as carnivores, sort of. Can you explain that a little bit? And why they get classified that? How do they classify them as that?
So carnivores, so I should back up. There's sort of like a technical definition of what a carnivore is in a scientific sense, and it's part of the group of animals called carnivora. And part of that's anatomical, not diet-based. So, for example, black bears are part of the carnivora, but they're almost entirely omnivores. But how we refer to them sort of generally speaking with carnivores, which are meat eaters, and omnivores, which sort of eat both, and then, herbivores. Most people call wolves carnivores because the majority of their diet is just meat. And so that's why we think of them as carnivores. And their physiology, particularly their dentition, is made for cracking and crunching bones and eating meat. So they've got their big carnassial teeth, which are the big molars that wolves and even dogs have. And so that's meant for shearing and cutting and eating meat. And so that's why they're thought of as carnivores. But we also or scientists refer to them as generalists, because their diets are general enough that they are flexible and they can take advantage of things that might be a little different than just meat. Whereas, say, something like a cat or a cougar or something like that, they're really well adapted for eating meat, but they're not a generalist. So they're not going to go around and start eating berries and other stuff like that. They have to eat meat.
Right. That's important to understand, because we do have some controversy in our industry. Whitney and I have witnessed it many times, where people get really stuck on that a wolf only eats bone, meat, blood, and all of that kind of stuff. So do they eat the fur?
Yep. So they'll eat the fur. The fur it's hard to eat a deer without eating fur,
sure.
Or a beaver or something like that. So they definitely ingest the fur. They ingest, pretty much the only part of an animal that wolves typically don't ingest is the stomach contents. They oftentimes, they just don't want to eat that. Now, I'm sure they eat some of it incidentally when they're, eating the internal organs or something like that. But it's not, oftentimes they'll actually nibble all of the meat around the stomach, just leaving the stomach contents. 'Cause they don't
Wow,
want
you know what
that.
is so interesting about what you just said is one of the arguments I hear a lot of people in our industry talk about is that wolves eat fruits and veggies. They get it. They say they get it because they eat the stomach content of the rabbit that they eat. But you're saying
Oh.
that they rarely eat the stomach content.